Ahoy there, Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another faction frigate video for EVE Echoes. Today we're going to be taking the first look at the Serpentis Corporation Daredevil, which has definitely become one of my favourite of the faction frigates, and you know how much I love all of the faction frigates, so that is really saying something. This is an absolutely vicious little ship that has an incredible array of abilities, and that's what we're going to go over in this video. We're going to have a look at what those abilities are, how this ship works, and have a basic idea of how to fit it. I am actually going to be going back and doing a whole series dedicated to frigates, not just faction frigates, but I am going to be doing a series that I'm calling the Frigate Manifesto, which will be going over everything that you have ever wanted to know about frigates, and that will include going back over things like the Daredevil, the Worm, the Dromiel, the Crew War, all of these in future videos, so do keep an eye open for those if you do like the look of frigates. That said as well, talking about the look of frigates, I have to say with the Daredevil, what on earth is going on with these two turrets on this side? We've got four absolutely massive turrets, 5 if you include the one here at the back, and then these two little piddly ones here on the left-hand side. I'm not sure which size is bugged, whether they're supposed to be the small ones, and there's just 5 super-sized ones, or if they're supposed to be those big ones, and 2 of them just, I don't know, shrunk in the wash. Anyway, if you do enjoy this video, let me know by hitting like on it, consider subscribing to the channel for all things EVE Echoes, ding that notification bell so that you never miss an upload, and of course let me know what topics you want to see me cover in future videos. If it's a particular ship you want to see me cover, do be aware that obviously it takes time to source a ship, to fit it, to try out different things, and to skill into the relevant skills in order to showcase it. So ship fitting videos do sometimes take a bit of time. Finally, if you want to go the extra mile to help support this channel, you can do so by joining us on Patreon. Details are on screen now. Alright, with all that said and done then, let's jump in and talk about the Serpentis Corporation Daredevil. The Serpentis Corporation are one of the 5 main pirate factions currently in EVE Echoes. Don't ask about Mordu's Legion, Serpent Sisters of Eve, or the Yanjung. I have no idea how we're going to get those, or where they'll actually appear in the game. That is something, obviously, when I find out, I will do a dedicated video on, so do make sure you're watching this channel for updates on those. Now, the other 4 pirate factions are, of course, the Blood Raider Covenant and Sanchez Nation down in Amarr space, the Guristas Pirates up in Caldari space, and the Angel Cartel primarily in Minmatar space. This means that the Serpentis Corporation, of course, fill the Gallente pirate role, and their kind of backstory is that they're this corporation that's been outlawed from Gallente society, mainly due to their focus on drugs and stimulants and that kind of thing, stim injectors, that kind of thing. They're fairly important in the lore, and they actually work very closely with the Angel Cartel, which is why the Daredevil looks so familiar to anyone who's seen a Dromiel. The Dromiel and the Daredevil are kind of sister ships. The Daredevil in its backstory was designed supposedly by the Angel Cartel, hence it has that sort of sharp, beetly, clawed look to it, which, if you know anything about me and my ships, is a kind of design that I can really get behind. Anyway, enough about how the ship looks, let's talk about how it flies. Now, being a faction frigate, the Daredevil, of course, has that attribute and fitting profile of 3 high slots, 3 mid slots, 3 low slots, 3 mechanical rigs, and 3 power grid rigs. All of the 3s as usual. Defensively speaking, it is a little bit weaker than some of the other faction frigates, 4,080 total EHP, 1193 in armour, 1233 in structure, and 909 in shield. This is primarily towards the armour and the structure, which does suggest sort of more an armour tanking style for this particular ship, but again, it is a very small, very fast moving ship, as you can see here, 26.7 meter signature radius, and a 439 flight velocity. Speed tanking this thing is definitely a possibility. Scan resolution of 760 means it can lock on fairly quickly, good sensor strength of 14.4, and a warp speed of 5.0 AUs per second. Of course, that is standard for a frigate, means it can relocate very quickly through space. This is very much a small, fast-moving target that is a little bit fragile compared to some of the other faction frigates, but again, as far as frigates go, still fairly tanky. Looking at its bonuses here under trait description, you'll notice that the Daredevil doesn't actually have a roll bonus. The Serpentis Corporation are weird in that they don't seem to have a roll bonus shared across their across their ships. If you look at any of the Guristas, the Sancha, the Blood Raider, or even the Angel, they all have a roll bonus that's shared between the different ships. The Serpentis Corporation don't seem to have that, but anyway, let's have a look at the actual skill bonuses. Advanced Small Railgun Operation gives you a bonus of 20% to small railgun damage. Obviously, it's a 100% increase to railgun damage when that's fully skilled, meaning that this thing acts as if it's got 6 turrets. and a 10% increase to small railgun accuracy fall-off. That gives you a little bit of extra range, mainly to rifled railguns, but does actually help blasters out quite a bit too. Sorry, snub-nosed railguns. Keep calling them blasters! They're not blasters in Echoes, they are snub-nosed railguns. Extra accuracy fall-off, additional 50% if that's fully trained up to level 5. Advanced Frigate Command then gives you an increase as well of stasis webifier strength, 10%, a 10% increase to the optimal range of the stasis webifier, and a 10% increase to warp disrupt to optimal range. Now obviously those are full 50% when fully trained, and that is an absolutely vital thing to consider. If you're using a stasis webifier, it's going to have an additional 50% range, so if it's a 15-kilometer Predator, it's actually going to be out at 22.5 kilometers, which is an astonishingly long range for a stasis web, and that extra 50% strength means it slows ships down even more. This makes the Daredevil absolutely terrifying in regards to its range control. It can stop ships getting away, and it can stop them closing in on its position. And that is very much something I'm going to showcase in the build when we come to the fitting section. Finally though, that warp disrupt to optimal range means if you are going around ganking people in anomalies, which is a great use for the Daredevil, you can actually warp disrupt from a long range away. I mean, think about it. If a standard warp disrupt is, what, 25 kilometers, the extra 50% on top of that is another 12.5 kilometers. That's 37.5 Ks, meaning if you warp in at, say, the 30 kilometers mark into an anomaly, chances are, unless they've gone for a heavy kiting build, chances are anyone who's in that anomaly is already in range. And if they're not, it's probably not far to actually get into that range. This time around, the thank you and the shout out goes to the Kiwi, who you guys might remember was the guy who built and loaned me the Succubus for the first look at the Succubus video that I did. The Daredevil here is one that he built and was going to sell on the market, but I kind of swooped in and said, hey, I'll buy that instead, so thank you to the Kiwi for selling me an awesome Daredevil so that I can showcase it in this video. I love this ship so much. Now, because this is a first look video, I'm going to showcase a build here that really does lean heavily into the Daredevil stats, and is probably the most common fit you can do with the Daredevil. As I said, I will be coming back in the future to do a full in-depth look at every single one of the faction frigates one by one, where we'll look at multiple different builds, etc. Today is just a first look at an idea of what this ship is all about. So what I'm doing is leaning into those bonuses to the webifier and the warp disruptor, and we're going for a heavy web kiter build. If you've watched cartoons and you've seen like an older character holding a younger character at arm's reach while the younger character tries to hit but can't reach, that's the Daredevil in a nutshell. That's this build. I'm keeping them at arm's range, they can't hit me, I can keep hitting them. And how do we do that? Well, of course, the mid-slots. The first mid-slot to look at then is the Predator Stasis Webifier. Now remember, I'm getting a 50% increase both to its range and to its strength. That gives it an optimal range here of 22.2 kilometers and a flight velocity adjustment of 91.5 negative. That is humongous. That means anyone moving at, say, 1,000 meters per second gets slowed right the way down to 100 meters per second. That shuts down any form of speed tank, and of course it can do that at 22.2 kilometers, and also it just stops anyone from getting close to you. If someone's trying to approach you to do something like with a Dramiel or a Succubus that is using close range weapons, they're not actually going to be able to reach their optimal range simply because you can hold them at that 22.2 kilometers. Now, of course, this then plays into the rest of the build as well. We're aiming to hold people as far away as possible, meaning we need everything else to be long range. The other part of holding them and locking them down is, of course, a warp disruptor. Warp disruptors are getting that bonus. You can see here 41.25 kilometers to the optimal range of this thing means that I can lock down a target almost as soon as I drop on grid. If I drop onto grid and they're within 41.25, they're getting warp disrupted immediately. There's very little time to escape, whilst I can then set the range and work out from there. Now, of course, I would put 2 warp disruptors on here, both of the same to get that extra range. I just didn't have the amount of ISK required to buy 2 at this point in time. But if you have 2, that's 4 points of warp jammer strength at a range of over 40 kilometers. That's slightly insane. For the high slots then, of course, we have railgun damage bonuses on the ship itself. Are we going to go for snub-nosed if we're trying to keep them at range? No, we're not, because snub-nosed are the shortest range weapons in the game. We are, of course, going for the small rifled railguns, in this case, Corelli C-types. These have an optimal range of 9.72 and an accuracy fall-off of 8.7. That means if I'm sitting at 15 to 16 kilometers, which is outside of the webbing range of most stasis webifiers, obviously if a ship does not have a bonus to stasis webifier range, then 15 to 16 kilometers is a safe place to be. You're outside of webbing range. However, thanks to me having the bonuses to webs, they're in my webs, I'm not in theirs. 15 to 16 kilometers, I'm still sitting at about 60 to 70% effectiveness. DPS isn't everything, but obviously here I can hold them down, I can orbit at that range, I'm not getting webbed, and I'm able to still be able to apply damage. In fact, if I go right out to the 22 kilometer range there for the Stasis Webifier's maximum, I am still in a somewhat effective range for using these rifled railguns. Their total maximum here, I mean, work that out. It's nearly 10 kilometers for the optimal, it's then 9 kilometers nearly each on the accuracy fall-off. You're looking at a good 28 kilometers that this is theoretically effective up to. So if I'm sitting at 23 kilometers, I'm still able to hit. Not particularly much, it's not going to be close to my optimal theoretical DPS, but it is still damage. And if I'm damaging them, whilst they're unable to escape, and whilst they are unable to deal damage back to me, that's pretty much a win condition right there. Now, to support this, the low slots I've gone for are a Ranger small afterburner. Of course, we've got a decent flight velocity, and we've got a very small signature radius. This just allows me to move back and maintain that Stasis Webifier optimal range. I can keep them at arm's length whilst keeping my weapons in range. It's all about that range control, and it's pretty much speed tanking as well. 163% flight velocity adjustment means I am able to move nice and quickly, nice small target, fast moving, high angular velocity, even at range, means I should be taking very little damage. Of course, in case I do take damage, a Corelli C-type small armour repairer does come in there to help me top up any incidental damage that happens to be done to my armour tank. We don't really worry about the shields. The shields are so small on this thing, they will drop eventually. We focus on keeping the armour repaired, and that's what the armor repairer is here for. It's just incidental damage. We shouldn't need to have this running at all times because this is not a capacitor stable ship. Again, it doesn't need to be. I don't need to have everything running at any one time, and I should only need to be running that armor repairer every now and then just to top up some damage. This leaves the third slot open, and the third slot in the lows ultimately can go one of two ways. Here, I've gone for a narcotics magnetic field stabilizer. Obviously, magnetic field stabilizer is just the weapon damage upgrade for railguns. Having this fit to the ship gives a flat increase of 5% damage to the railguns, and I can activate it for an additional 8.6% to the railguns themselves, plus the activation time adjustment speed there as well. Does a significant increase to the DPS and actually pushes us nearly to 300, which is pretty painful. The idea there is that I can just use this as a kick if I need to just finish something off quickly, or if I'm finding that the enemy's tank is proving a little bit more difficult, I can just kick up the damage, burst through that tank, and force them to keep their repairs active and hopefully neutralise their capacitor from range. Now, obviously there, if you're finding that you're taking a bit more damage than you'd like to, you can swap that magnetic field stabilizer out for something like an adaptive armor hardener, or even a damage control unit, just something there that will give you a little bit extra resistance, and maybe help keep you alive longer. I just personally find that with the skills I have to things like Afterburner and Frigate Command, that I'm moving fast enough and sharply enough that I'm not actually taking much in the way of damage at all, and the armor repairer is more than adequate to deal with that. Now, for the rigs, of course, the mechanical rigs are what you're going to expect for a ship like this. Auxiliary thrusters, polycarbon engine housing, and a second auxiliary thrusters. Yes, there's a penalty for having two auxiliary thrusters, but heck, I'm just going for extra speed here. This thing has a decent enough inertia modifier as it is, that when I put on the polycarbon engine housing, we have a solid inertia modifier that means I'm able to keep those ranges quite comfortably. You could go for a dynamic fuel valve for that third mechanical slot, just to help increase your capacitor stability a little bit by having that afterburner running at all times, but my afterburner skill is high enough that I'm barely using any capacitor with that active anyway. As such, I've just gone for the extra speed to help me speed tank a little bit better. For the power grid rigs, however, it's that usual combination of a collision accelerator and then two burst aerators. This is your standard DPS setup. Yes, there's a penalty for having two burst aerators, but it's better than having a penalty for two collision accelerators. Basically, if you run the math, you can either go for two collision, one burst, or two collision, one burst, or two burst, one collision, and the two burst, one collision does actually work out beneficial in the long run. That's what we're aiming for here, and that gives us a cold DPS of 280.54, which is possible up to 28 kilometers. Obviously, we're not going to get that full 280 at that kind of range, but you're still hitting. A good solid defense of 4,909. You can see a good whack of that. 14,000 is on the shields there, and we've got the explosive resistance there up as well. Nice bits of resistance across the board here on this particular ship. Good navigation speed, 741.91. Cold, that's before the afterburner switched on, along with the targeting when I get to it there. Signature radius of 27 meters. Very small, fast-moving target, hard to hit. Right, and let's try this medium anomaly, see if we get any luck in this one after hours of maulers. Oh, something with drones, 2 drones. What have we got? What have we got? Spin the camera. I should really use the overview for this. Oh, it's a Vexor trainer. Okay, let's lock onto him. Should probably lock the drones too, but let's warp disrupt him down first of all. There we are. See how much damage we're doing there. It's only a trainer. Oh, still nasty damage. Hasn't quite noticed me yet. Not seeing him locking back on yet. Oh, come on, it's always more fun for footage when they fight back. No, sorry Falcon, I think you haven't spotted me here in your combat, but let's add that drone just in case he decides to send those, because I can screen those off with the web. No, at this point we're still pretty good. Oh, I kind of feel guilty for this. Guy hasn't even spotted me yet. Okay, no worries. No worries. No drones yet either. We're just orbiting at 15 kilometers, slowly whittling this guy's hull down. I haven't even been locked back. I suppose there's so many ships in his overview, he just hasn't seen me. Oh, there we go. Boom. Bye-bye, Vexor Trainer. Sorry there, Falcon. Oh, okay, well, let's start to loot, see what he had on his corpse. Kill males are kill males, you know? There we go. Oh, drones, hello. Hello. We have another Vexor. Okay, it's another Vexor trainer. Let's... You want to challenge me? I'll take that challenge. That's a lot of drones. Okay, let's use the overview and start locking onto those, I think. There we go. Drone ships are always a problem as a frigate pilot because obviously the drones move quickly and can still be quite difficult to kill. Oh, sorry, Falcon. Oh, way to make me feel bad in local. Way to make me feel bad in local. But this shocker face is having a go. Okay, let's take out that first one there. Take out those infiltrators. Infiltrators are nasty on my shields. Although, in fairness, I should probably take out the Mimitar ones first. Being an armor tank, those are going to pose me the most problems in the long run. Oh, shield alert. Shield alert. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not in a shield tank. I'm not in a shield tank. We can deal with that. We can put the armor repairers on. That's what I'm here. It's not a shield tank. It's okay. That alarm doesn't mean death. Okay. There we go. Okay, another drone down, and he's sending out more. Okay, lock these. Oh, those are hurting. Those are the Minotaur ones, surely. Yep, those are Valkyries. Those things sting. Those things sting. Okay, let's take out that Valkyrie. Web it down, screen it away from me. You can see, actually, when I web it, how fastly it sort of disappears backwards. 5 kilometers at the moment. Okay, I didn't actually get the web activated on that one. Let's see if we can do it on this one. There we are. Screw it, just shoot the darn thing. There we go. Take down that infiltrator. Whew. When fighting a Vexor, taking out its drones is definitely a valid target. The top weapons don't often do much. It's the drones that are your heavy damage. It's them you want to take out. And in this case, I think that's the last of his drones. I've cleared him out. So now we're just going to slowly whittle down through the rest and see there. You can see actually the enemies there, like the Griffin and that, are locking onto me, but they don't seem to be doing much either, although the armor repairer is kind of doing its job. And whoa, lag. Whoa, lag. Okay, we're down to hull now. We're down to hull. Let's take him out. Ah, 2 Vexors in 1 anomaly. That felt good. Oh, I haven't even warp disrupted him. Let's get that active. Oops. I wonder if he even spotted that. I had not applied a warp disruptor to this guy. There we are. Come on, last few hits now. Why are my turrets suddenly missing? Why are my turrets suddenly missing? Come on, guys. It's the two small ones. Two small ones aren't pulling their weight. Oh, and I've been hit by a web. I've been hit by a web. Okay. Right, well, there we go. 2 Vexor trainers. 2 Vexor trainers and how to take out drones. Awesome. Let's have a look at what loot they had. Inquisitor anomalies are always a fantastic place to go hunting, because even if it's like a level 2 Inquisitor, it still drops data cores and blueprints, and thus people going to, oh, yay, yay, what have we got? And everything's frozen. To finish what I was going to say while it unfreezes, quickly, oh, it's a Caracal Navy issue. Awesome. Okay, yeah, as I was saying, so Inquisitor anomalies are a great place to find things, because they always drop somewhat decent loot, even if they're only level 1 or level 2. And if they're level 1 or level 2, they're actually really easy to kill, so you get a lot of people come into them. They're also a great little private place. I do like to park myself and farm in these as well, just like sit down inside an Inquisitor anomaly that's been cleared and wait for people to come in, hoping to get some loot. Anyway, let's see what's going on here. I've noticed... Worst case. I love a good sausage pun for a name. That's fantastic. I almost feel guilty for blowing you up now. Okay, so we've engaged. We've locked on. We've got the orbit set. We've got Warp Disruptor active. I've done the magnetic field stabilizer. Let's add on the drone as well. He hasn't locked me back. Ah, there it is. There's the yellow box. There's the yellow box. I'm going to get ready to screen that drone away using the webifier. Everything's nice and active. I'm orbiting at 15 kilometers. Hopefully that should be outside of his range. And oh, there's a Condor too. I wonder if that's a friend of his. I wonder if that's a friend of his coming to try and get me, or at least distract me. No. We are going to stick with the Caracal Navy issue, because there are too many Caracal Navy issues in space. I'm sorry, there just are. There are too many, and if I can take one out, I'm going to be happy with that. Let's get rid of that drone as well. Again, I don't know how I lost the lock there. Yep, there's the attack. Turn off the webifier, add the webifier onto the drone. You'll see this screens it away nicely. As I'm orbiting, because the drone is now super slow, you see it's being pushed away to a further distance. I can deactivate one turret, going to reactivate that one on the drone, and hopefully kill that drone just using the single turret there. 15 kilometers should be okay. Obviously, it's a very small target. What is that Condor doing? Just watching. Just watching. Okay, sure thing. Just sit and watch. There we are, drone down. Let's add everything back onto the Caracal Navy issue. We're now down to hull. Oh, man. Outside of webifier range, he's hitting me with missiles. I don't think those are rapids. That doesn't feel like rapid damage. But he is hitting me with those missiles, just not for particularly much, because I am moving fast enough, obviously, to outrun the explosion velocity. It means you take less damage from the missiles. In this case, that, sadly, is the problem here. Being outside of webifier range, there's just nothing that he can do to slow me down. I've got him disrupted. I've actually got him webbed as well. And there we go. Sorry there, first case. I do have a bit of a thing against Caracal Navy issues. I'm not gonna... I'm not gonna lie. Caracal Navy issues are one of my least favourite ships. They're too prominent. I will always go for one and see if I can take it out if I can. They're a nice challenge. Yeah, webs would have helped there, but obviously I'm orbiting outside of web range. Now the Condor 2... Locked, disrupted, you were just watching or stealing loot, possibly. Looks like you were just stealing loot. Okay, well, let's punish that. Set up an orbit here. Again, I'm probably going a bit overkill keeping the afterburner and the webifier on here, but there we are. Yeah, actually, by the looks of things, my tracking's having trouble with a Condor 2. So how fast these things are just shows it. And obviously, with me moving and him moving, that's a high angular velocity. Okay. Oh, come on, hit him. Just kill him. Stop trying to hit me and hit me. Oh, first case. Sorry, man. I'm seeing that in local. Oh, damn. Still love your videos, though. Thank you. Thank you. You're in one now. Yes, I will pod you in just a moment. I feel kind of guilty when it turns out to be a fan, but this is Eve. I am a pirate. I've never made any attempt to hide the fact that I am a filthy pirate. And remember, in the 1600s, it's not like pirates went after the big ships or anything. They would go after whatever was lucrative, steal what they could. I'm done with orbiting. Let's just stop, lock, and shoot. That orbiting's making me miss too much. There we go. And he's gone down. Yeah, pirates in the 16th century didn't exactly play fair, so I don't either, you know? It's lucrative, it's just business. Anyway, I've mentioned that the faction frigates are actually really good for PvE content as well, so here I am jumping into a tier 8 Angel small anomaly. I've actually killed one of the ships of this already. I got absolutely massive lag, so I had to jump out and jump back in to re-record, hence the fact that this slasher already has a bit of its shield damage. Please forgive me for that for a moment. Anyway, so I'm going to lock onto the targets, I'm going to set my orbit, which is currently at about 15 kilometers, activate my webifier and guns, and just start to do some damage. And you can see here the speed I'm moving at, 2,000 meters per second, standard there in a straight line. Lose a little bit as I start turning, but it does then pick right the way back up. And there we are, 1960, that's a lot of speed, makes an excellent speed tank, the Daredevil. Now I'm here, 15 kilometers away from that Gisty Slasher. As you can see, DPS isn't amazingly, I'm not blasting this off in one hit, but I'm also not getting hit back either. Let's actually lock onto the ruptures rather than those tornadoes. Not going to be fighting the tornadoes for a while. There we are, and actually we'll set a smaller orbit here of 11 kilometers. The reason I'm doing that is because I know these mobs don't use webs, and if my guns are better at 11 kilometers, I'm going to be doing more damage and thus clearing that anomaly a little bit quicker. I know that if the mobs themselves have webs, I can pull back to 12-13 kilometers and I'll outrange those, but I know here the ruptures, the cyclones and the tornadoes in this particular anomaly do not have those webs, so I can afford to get a bit closer. Understanding that kind of range modulation as well is absolutely vital for piloting frigates. I showed that a little bit with the Talwar assault video, but yes, if you get close you can get under your opponent's guns and still be able to hit quite nicely. Heck, if I were to move right into sort of a 5-kilometer orbit here, the railguns I'm using would still be pretty good for hitting. The tracking is good enough to hit a target that size that close, but I'm also wanting to maintain a decent flight velocity here for that angular velocity, so I'm sitting there now at the 11-kilometer mark instead. You can see it's plenty for me to be using my webs just to slow them down and absolutely score as big a hits as possible, and I'm orbiting quite comfortably. I haven't touched the armour repairer yet. No need. 90% shield still sitting at, that's not a problem at all. I should probably just use the auto range here, but screw it. 11-kilometer range again on the orbit here, on a Gistum Rupture 2. And you can see I just take so little damage because of the speed that I'm moving at. Even here, Gistum 2 Rupture, that's clearly using missiles, not able to do a decent amount of damage to this Daredevil because of the size and the speed that I'm moving at. Explosion velocity and explosion radius, both not good enough to actually properly apply missile damage to me. So we're just going to sit here and orbit and slowly whittle our way down through all of these ships one by one. Now, of course, I'm using railguns. Railguns are kinetic and thermal, which means they are excellent against both armor tanks and shield tanks. They do good damage against either. Whereas lasers, for example, are very, very good against shields, but suck against the armor and hull. But anyway, I can see we're slowly pulling that rupture down. I think it'll probably be the cyclones or the tornado. Well, of course it'll be the cyclones or the tornadoes I go for next. I'm not sure which I'll go for. We'll figure that out in a second. But ultimately, I don't know. For me, this is a great little vessel for PvE. You can see here I'm taking no damage at all. Screw it, let's just go for the Cyclone. It's the one it auto-locked to. It's a great little vessel for PvE because you take no damage at all. This is an Angel Small Anomaly 8. You can do Angel Small Anomaly, Angel Medium and Large Anomalies at 8 as well. I haven't tried a 9 yet, but I have no doubt in my head that it can be done. You might even be able to do 10 smalls with this, if not more. I will be having a bit more of play with this, and we'll come back in a future video and see exactly how high you can get this thing to go. But for now, I think that showcases quite nicely how well this actually works in PvE as well as PvP. It's a terrifying ship. Oh, I took a couple of hits there, and now I'm only on 90% shields. Oh no, how very, very terrible. Anyway, folks, that just about wraps up everything I needed to cover in this first look here at the Serpentis Daredevil. I love this ship so much. This is an excellent faction frigate and arguably one of the best ones. I think it's a toss-up between the Crew War and the Daredevil as which actually takes the #1 slot overall. I think I'm kind of verging a little bit more towards the Crew War, especially when it comes to hunting bigger prey, but the Daredevil, oh my god, it just becomes such an easy AFK situation here for PvE. Look at this, it's just slowly drift and rip everything to shreds. But let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. You know the drill by now, folks. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. If you're using a Daredevil or a similar faction frigate, take some screenshots, put them on Twitter, showcase that with the hashtag CSKL. Love seeing your screenshots. Love having a chat with you folks. Anyway, thanks for watching right to the end. Happy sailing, and see you in New Eden.